Alright, nerds, welcome to the CineMerts podcast with Max Coulson and Levi Johnson. We're a couple of guys who like films, get all the films, lovely, lovely films, and they're so lovely, the films, we really enjoy them, they're lovely. I love them. Today we watched Parasite.
Indeed we did. This film was a lot different than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, this is my second time watching, but definitely the first time I watched it, I was kind of... One, it does throw a major curveball at you, which we'll get to. But to be honest, even before that, my only experience with Joon-ho before this was Snowpiercer.
I've not even seen that.
You've not seen Snowpiercer?
Nope.
Oh, dude, that's like his big mainstream like Western movie with Captain America in it. Decent movie. Don't bother with a Netflix show. It sucks. I wanted to like it. Daveed Diggs is in it. I really like Daveed Diggs, but it sucks.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one of those, like, I really was rooting for it. I guess I'll do a quick sort of general plot rundown. We will get into spoilers. Off the bat, I'll say I recommend it.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. Aside from the fact that, how did this film win Best Foreign Picture and Best Picture? That doesn't make any sense, huh? Like, it should have only been, like, one. It can't be both. Like, what about the Joker? That guy is an idiot.
How did Mad Max win Best Costume Design and Best Director? It doesn't make sense.
like it's like two different categories. That's how it makes sense.
This is a very good movie, and probably better than Joker. I like Joker. Joker's a good movie. It's probably a better movie overall. Although I did really enjoy Joker, and probably, if I'm telling the truth, we'll probably revisit it more times. But that's because it has a certain aesthetic to it that I really like. I like that kind of early Scorsese look and feel, and it has that. It's a throwbacky movie, and I like 70s and 80s Scorsese films. Anyway, plot rundown. It follows the Kim family, who are a poor family living in what they call a semi-basement. We'd just call it a basement, in a kind of, I guess, slum area of South Korea. The son, whose name I didn't get, they have fake names that are like English names partway through the movie, and I took note of those, but I was eating a burrito during the beginning of the film where they said their actual names. And I don't even know if I was reading the subtitles at that point, so I didn't make a note of it.
Yeah, like, I was trying to piece them all together, and I was like, don't worry, they'll definitely say their names multiple times, so don't stress about it, man.
No.
So, yeah, I'm like, okay, so Mr. Kevin.
So Mr. Kevin, who is the son, he gets a job tutoring this girl English. They kind of Photoshop some documents to say that he graduated university, and but it's fine because he's actually like a legit good English tutor
and an excellent seducer.
He doesn't even really have to do anything. He just sort of has to show up.
Right.
Yeah, I get it if he was like super good looking or anything. He's just like normal.
Yeah, he's just normal.
Like, he's not like a model or anything. But yeah, he starts tutoring this girl and then convinces her mum to hire his sister, not lying about her identity and saying that it's a friend of his cousin.
Yep.
Convinces to hire her as an art teacher for the woman's son, who then convinces the mother that her son has schizophrenia because of some scribbles in the bottom corner of one of his paintings, or two of his paintings, and gets a higher paid job as an art therapist with 4 sessions a week. She then, when she's being driven home, or driven to the train station, drops her panties in the back of the car to get their driver fired, so then her dad can take over as the driver, and then probably the most insidious in a way is they give the housekeeper a major allergic reaction to peaches to convince the mother that she has tuberculosis. Which, by the way, is such an out there one. It's like such a hard sell.
I know. Like, how are you going to do this?
I mean, I guess
like,
TB still goes around. You know, maybe she's bitten by a badger or some shit.
It's like, watch out, she's got mega raids. Like, like mega raids? I've never even heard of it. Oh, it's really bad.
All you need to do is look at them and they
It's like, we can tell the symptoms from, like, look at her. What's her name? Like,
it's like the Eddie Murphy AIDS. It's like all you need to do is do a peck on the cheek. It's that version of AIDS.
It's like, yeah, that's how we know she's got it. Like, the symptoms are just being her, so you're gonna have to fire her.
They fire her, and their mother takes over. So now the whole family is in the employ of the Parks family,
Which kind of clever.
Yeah. They basically infiltrate the home. Yeah, because of the fact that, as they point out, you know, even a security guard job gets 500 university graduates going for it. So the only way you can really get a job anymore is by being referred by somebody else. So they sneakily keep referring each other.
Yep.
Whilst also avoiding having the husband and wife, the rich husband and wife, don't know that that they've been recommending each other.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of very sneaky game that they've been playing. And what's great about it is, as well, you see them in the process of preparing for this. You see them memorizing the details of how they know each other. You see them practice acting techniques.
Yep.
You see them go into a car showroom to learn the ins and outs of the specific car that they'd be driving to make it look like they're an expert at driving high-class BMWs.
No, Mercedes-Benz, man.
Oh, it was Benz. You're right. It was a Benz. I'm used to rich British wankers. It's all very clever how they do it. I don't know if you want to just sort of start to discuss parts of it now before we get into the spoiler half.
Sure. There were some stuff that I thought was really cool. I liked how they kind of set up that they were poor. Well, although it didn't take long before they were like, surprise! Like, these guys are fucking dirt poor. Like, I liked the fact that they were struggling with their phone, and they're like, do we have any, like, can we get any free Wi-Fi anywhere, blah, blah. Because...
There's a relatability to that.
Yeah.
I think that's a consequence of poverty that most people who have ever struggled with money have probably had to deal with.
Yeah, right.
Is the robbing someone else's Wi-Fi, because, yeah, you haven't been able to afford to pay yours this month, or even if you're just not at home.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's like, I've got no more data, mate. Like, it's over.
Yeah, I remember when I was signing on, you know, having to go up to, like, Mackey's and rob their Wi-Fi, you know, stand outside McDonald's and rob their Wi-Fi to do your job search and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's I think, something that, like I say, most people who have struggled can relate to, so it's a good starting point.
And what was it? I like the fact that, as well, the dad, Mr. Kim, he's eating some bread, but, like, you can see him kind of picking around some mold on the bread. Something that I fucking hate doing. And I decided to Google it to make myself miserable. But, like, just because there's, like, a green spot and you didn't you ate around it, the mold actually shoots out tendrils that go all the way through the bread. So
I generally
that makes
think
me really depressed.
If you don't eat the really obviously moldy bits, you'll be fine.
Maybe.
To an extent, it's gonna just boost your immune system.
I'm like a crazy hypochondriac though.
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
It's awesome how, like, random, and it's not even like major. It's just purely really random shit that I'll be a hypochondriac over. Like, I jumped into a lake and loads of water went up my nose, and then I googled. It's like, can anything bad happen from that? What? There's a brain-eating bacteria that can get up through your nose. It's extremely rare. Well, I'm fucking dead then.
About a year ago, I genuinely looked up whether or not I could get AIDS from a mosquito bite.
Wait, you can't? Because I thought you could.
It's highly unlikely because the thing is, most types of mosquitoes will only actually suck your blood once. Obviously, especially something like AIDS. AIDS does not live very
Yeah,
long
I was going to say
outside your
actually,
body.
AIDS is not malaria. Like AIDS is actually apparently really bad at transferring.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. It has to be like pretty immediate, like blood to blood straight away. Yeah. Anyway, the picking around mold thing again. There's a relatability to that.
mm,
It's not like super scary dirt poor.
yeah.
Although you can't do that with molten bread. You can't do it. Like you have tried doing that with sliced bread. It just goes blue completely, immediately.
Oh well. Okay.
The thing is they took out all the preservatives that stop it from going
See,
moldy, and now it's just
maybe this is
immediate.
just me like showing my new petite bourgeois level. Ha 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 ha. Nah, like I've not had moldy bread for a little while, bro. So
Fair.
I'm at that point now where I'm like, oh, that's maybe low. Let me just eat that off, or it's too far gone. It's over now.
I I live in a flat on my own. I don't get through bread fast enough, which is my problem. I can't eat it quick enough
Yeah,
that it doesn't just go moldy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's an issue.
Freeze
Anyway,
the bread, bro. But
I share a freezer with like 6 other people.
true.
It's really hard to find that level of freezer space. I think I was able to freeze like a lolly once. It's a nightmare.
But then, like I was gonna say, the thing that actually did make me laugh though is I was like, oh, we're establishing that they're a little bit poor, and then they're like, surprise, we live in this like dirt poor like flat thing on the ground floor with like busted out windows, and they're like,
Yeah, you got the dude pissing up like up against the like side of the house basically.
yeah, I was
You've
like,
got
oh,
them fumigating, and it's like and it's like no, don't close the window. We get free fumigation that way.
I was like, huh. Why all the subtle setups? If you're gonna be like, bam, poverty, like, dude should have just been like, let's just eat some of
I
this dirt.
think it's a smart move, still starting with the relatable thing, because it doesn't feel like it's coming on too strong at first. It's like it starts you off with something you can relate to some degree. Yeah, I did like how generally though how they handled the poverty side of it. Also, like the little things that they do, like them folding the pizza boxes at the beginning to make money.
Yeah, yeah. Like
And
that
like
was
even when they're robbing the Wi-Fi, they're robbing it to check about the pizza folding job, like pizza box folding job. So it's like, okay, that's the thing. It's that gig economy thing where
yeah,
it's like
yeah. Dudes are stuck. They're like, okay, what can I do? Fold all these pizza boxes for money.
yeah,
Cool, we'll do that.
and then they get like their pay docked by 10% because they're not folded straight, which makes sense because they were folding at least some of them while their flat was being
Being
filled with
fumigated.
noxious fumes from the exterminator.
So they did pay for that fumigation.
Yeah, nothing's free. You see, that's the message of this movie: is there's no such thing as a free lunch. So this is a capitalist movie. I also one thing I did really like is a smart way that they sort of showed the difference between the Kim household and the Parks household is that everything's way more saturated color wise in the Park household. In the Kim's home, everything's really really grey. It's like this grey green. It's like the real world scenes in the Matrix. You know, it's that kind of
Yeah.
or Twilight. It's that sort of it's the Twilight color correction color, whatever you call that, greyish blue green. Like it's that. The Park House is the first thing you see is the grass. It's like really vibrant green.
Yeah.
You can see like there's the wood grain when they walk in the house. It's like it's all very saturated. And it's just a really simple way of doing it without really having to hammer anything home that much. You're not seeing them living like aristocrats. You're seeing them living relatively normal. Yeah, they're being waited on, but they're not like living lavishly. Other than the fact that they're in a very nice house, and also having that minimalist look in the house also sells that they have loads and loads of space. Which, when in the opening of the film, you've been stuck with that kind of really claustrophobic
setting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the juxtaposition works really really well. without anyone having to explain or hammer home
Mm.
the difference. Yeah, I think it communicates that very, very well, very quickly.
Yeah, like to be fair, that's something I hadn't really paid attention to. Like once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that obviously was a thing.
Yeah, and it speaks to the fact that, as I pointed out to you while we were watching, both homes are purpose-built sets
Mm,
in this film, which surprised me. Like when because I didn't know when I first watched it. It was only I looked it up afterwards, and it was like, oh wow, these were made completely from scratch. They built an entire house for this movie. The big tells are the windows. The main windows in both houses are the aspect ratio of the film, which is a weird aspect ratio. It's like super widescreen.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it's a little bit odd. It's very easy to get used to, but I'm not somebody who gets particularly hung up on aspect ratio.
yeah.
Like,
No, I think enough time in college would let you know that I'm like fuck aspect ratios. I don't give a crap. Like, put everything 4:3. Let's just go for it.
Now it's all about 1:1, just square aspect ratio. I love it. Get that Super 8, like fucking basic 1:1. But yeah, the windows, the main windows in both households are the film's aspect ratio. And so is the garage door, which I didn't even notice until watching it this time around. And it was like, oh shit! Like that's a real tell that this was purpose built. Is that the garage door is the exact aspect ratio of the screen, and God, like the amount of planning that
I
had to
know.
go into doing that, like that's some serious like attention to detail. So, do we get into spoilers now?
Oh well. I was going to say there was something that was kind of. See, I feel kind of like I'm stepping on toes by getting into this because I'm not Asian. But it is something I have noticed in Asian like culture, which is hey. To sell you what? Because the Kim family they go hey to sell them on how good we are at our jobs, let's lie and use English names.
Mm-hmm.
So his name is Mr. Kevin, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, my cousin knew a girl in like one of her universities and who went to Chicago, and
Yeah,
her name is Jessica.
yeah.
Like these are things like yeah, you'll find.
There's a lot of little jabs at sort of colonialism in the film, to be honest. There's that. There's also the fact that they definitely demonstrate class by punctuating certain lines in English.
Mm,
Then there's obviously the importance of the fact that, Kevin is tutoring English, and they again treat it as very, very important. And there's also a line later on in the movie where the Mrs. Parks, I can't remember her name,
yeah.
she says the tent was made in the USA, so
Ha! Yeah,
it will be fine. It's good quality because it's like teeming down with rain, and it's that's like a little I think jab at, I guess, the high class in Korea for idolizing American culture and
yeah,
English
yeah.
speaking culture.
Yeah, it's a interesting thing that a lot of at least East Asia tends
Mm-hmm.
to have, um, like Sonic the Hedgehog says some words in English in the Japanese version,
Mm-hmm.
because English is just seen as being really cool and trendy. Which I was like, I don't know if it's that
I
great,
mean,
but
you could make the argument that's the case in other parts of Asia as well, like India. But obviously, the thing about India is that a lot of people just speak English anyway, because
yeah,
it was English for so long. It was owned by the British Empire for so long. So that's kind of just
mm,
an actual part of their culture now is speaking English.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Also, interestingly, why British films do really well in India, because they can understand English, but they struggle with American accents.
Huh. Did not know that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else to say before we get into spoilers?
Nah.
Okay, so big reveal. The housekeeper, the original housekeeper that they get fired, comes back, and she's kind of in a like panicked state. That at this point, the Park family are all out. They're all off camping, and the Kims have kind of they're just getting drunk in the house basically.
Mm.
And the sister, who by the way, best fucking character in the movie. I'm just gonna say it. Like, she's great.
I know. I ain't gonna lie. I was kind of salty with the movie, and I was like, "What the hell, man?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We'll get into that. Like, she's great. Like, honest to God, like I don't know the actress's name, but I honestly would watch something just purely for her, because her performance in it is hilarious. Like, she carries that off so well. It's
Yep.
yeah, honestly, real highlight of the film. And she's eating dog treats. It's not obvious at first. She's just chewing it, and then like she just reads it. And she goes, "Puppy." She's like, he's like,
Which again, I guess, just sounds like the puppy. They're like, "Hey man, I've eaten worse."
actually, I do know my ex's younger brother once ate one of those bacon style dog chews, and he said it just tasted like jerky. Like, he's like, I'm curious. He was like, yeah, it's just like beef jerky. Like,
Well, I hope none of you eating beef jerky because you've been eating dog food.
I've eaten dog chocolates. You know, those little chocolate buttons.
Yeah.
It's just carob. It's all right.
Okay.
They're fine. And I used to eat them quite a lot. My mum used to get annoyed with me because she'd buy them for the dog, and she'd just be like, "What? Stop snacking on the dog chocolates. I bought regular chocolates. Just eat them." Fucking weirdo. What are you doing? But anyway, the housekeeper rushes in, and kind of they all have to run and hide, and their mother, the current housekeeper, like lets her in, and she like rushes to the wine cellar.
Mm.
So they'll, and she's there for ages. So she goes in to check on her, and she's like full on, like you said, full on Jackie Chan in it. Like, she's like,
like, at first I thought they were gonna go down there and find that she'd hung herself.
That's exactly where I thought it was going the first
and
time.
Like, you could hear her struggling. I was like, oh shit, she actually did. And then yeah, she's just spidering on the wall. Like, ugh. I was like, wait, she's trying to climb up somewhere, or is she about to be crushed?
And
like,
she's turns out she's trying to push aside the cabinet, revealing a secret door, because it turns out her husband was in a secret bunker underneath the house.
And now that he's been released, he will absorb 17 and 18.
I'm not saying that's the whole reason I wanted to do this movie, but it was up there.
I just like the fact it's like, hey, we lost that joke last time. I'm bringing it back.
Oh man, R.I.P. the guest episode. Yeah, there's a reason there's been a gap this long. We just completely lost an episode. Plus, I had an ear infection. A lot of shit happened. So yeah, her husband is underneath the house in a secret cellar that the architect built, that the Park family had no idea existed. And he's been starving because there was a metal pan stuck underneath the cabinet, which meant he couldn't open it from the inside and get out and get supplies. Because yeah, it turns out they're not the only parasites in the film.
Mm.
Of course, they weren't anyway, because, well, it could be argued that the Parks family are the real parasites because they don't do anything for themselves and leech off the labour of others, which is totally the point of the movie.
I would say, I wish they'd made it more clear what this is where I was going to go with my complaint. Unless I missed a line of dialogue, very possible. I basically was going like, yeah, but at this point, I guess we don't really know what Mr. Park's doing. He's doing some kind of business. I actually don't know what the hell his job is.
No, it's never made clear.
Is it not? Okay,
No.
Cool. I thought I might have missed one of the subtitles. I'm not the best
seems
at
to
reading
work
all
in
the
some
time.
sort of, like, works with technology or IT or something. There's like one line that says something about processing power, and that's all you get.
Yeah, like, I was really hoping that See, I thought the film was going to go somewhere where you'd find out that at a certain point in time, everything was going great. Well, as great as it can be for, a working class family where they're just employed and things are all right. And then it was going to be revealed that Mr. Park did something to essentially leech off of their labor or get them screwed over, and that would cause animosity or some type of grief. But that never really happened, and it's
No,
just kind of said, "Hey, this guy's rich.
yeah. I mean,
Should he be?"
I think it's more the fact that like obviously they do nothing. It's even like when the housekeeper is out of commission, the original housekeeper, and he's like, oh, there'll be bin bags everywhere. It'll be
Oh yeah, they're like, oh,
like all our clothes will smell like.
He's like, well, what will we do without a housekeeper? Like, my clothes will start to smell. It's like, just wash them, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, so yeah, I think it's that element with them. It's just that they do nothing for themselves, and also it's that thing of like that's sort of why I guess the Kims sort of would just view them as fair game.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, if they're stupid enough to fall for this, that's on them.
Yeah.
Which is totally a thing. That's when you have sort of poorer people and they sort of end up scamming richer people. So usually the attitude they're gonna have is, well, if you're so sheltered that you let this happen, why are we gonna feel bad for you?
What?
Whereas they do feel bad. Each one of them feel bad for the people they fucked over at some point in the movie. The other people they fucked over, the other workers.
Yeah.
The dad feels bad for the driver at one point. All of them feel bad for the couple in the basement. Like, every single one of them. Even the sister who at first is like, hey, like, why the fuck are you worried about them? Like, worry about me.
Except Kevin. Kevin didn't feel bad at all. He was just like, hey, Min really likes this girl, but after I did nothing, she's on it. Well, when she goes to university, I'm going to make it official and ask her to be my girlfriend. That's literally what Min said. Like, this guy's just... But again, I guess Min is also technically well off. So he's like, fuck this guy. I'm stealing his bird. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, I think it's also, like, I think it's partly as well that Kevin kind of wants to be Min. He idolizes him.
Yeah,
so
at a certain point, he does say, what would Min do?
Yeah, and it's like, so there's a degree of like, wait, is he only interested in her because Min was interested in her and that makes him more like Min? Like, is he just trying to have Min's life, like, through and through?
Like, Min comes back from abroad and he's like, I'm married. He's like, I've wasted all my time with you. He like pushes the girl to the ground and like tries to start dating Min's wife.
Once the couple, once the housekeeper's husband is revealed, that's when shit just gets mental. Really.
Yeah.
First, there's the awkward hiding scene with the most awkward sex scene ever.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Where he just sort of awkwardly, Mr. Parks just sort of awkwardly fingers his wife, while she says, "No, twist my nipples clockwise."
Yeah, like no, that's counterclockwise. I need it clockwise.
That's either like just typical like bloke writing women dialogue, or it's like something that's got a bit lost in translation, like one or the other.
Or you missed the third possibility. Maybe we have no idea how to pleasure women, and we've just been doing it wrong all this time, man. Like,
it's all about clockwise motion.
You gotta make the distinction. Well, not always. Some people might want to counterclockwise.
But the fact is, it is a rigid rule.
Yeah. I'm just shocked. Who's like, nah. Clockwise. Like, wouldn't you just say if there was a specific, you go the other way, please?
Yeah, or that.
Like, go the other way. You're like, okay.
But yeah, they kind of they have their little not quite sex scene. while three family members are all hiding under a table right next to them.
And Kevin's sexting with like
And
their
Kevin's
daughter.
sexting with their daughter. It's just like perfectly awkward. They eventually get out after they've fallen asleep and go home, only to find out that the Kim's family home is just flooded completely because it's been pissing down with rain the whole time, and they get in and there is like sewage shooting up out of the toilet.
Yeah.
It's about as grim as it can possibly be. And they go and spend the night in a gymnasium with everyone else who's basically lost their homes. And then they get invited to an impromptu garden party, which, as I said, I definitely wouldn't throw one of those right after a torrential downpour, but apparently it's just fine.
Yeah. No waterlogging or nothing.
They have like a massive hairdryer. So they have this like garden party.
For some reason, they bring
they invite
each of the family members.
Every one of the family members.
But at which you remember, the Park family doesn't know they're related.
No.
They think they're all individual employees of theirs, or like
also
freelance
this is a garden party specifically for their youngest son.
Yeah.
For his trauma recovery party.
No, it wasn't. It's a birthday.
They say that, but then later on she calls it his trauma recovery cake, and it's like, what?
Oh yeah.
I don't get when he was supposed to. So he's supposed to be traumatized because he saw a ghost, which was actually the husband of the housekeeper, and it triggered a seizure.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how affected by it long term the kid actually is. Because it seems like he's actually just an out of control kid who only plays up because his parents just sort of let him. Because the second he is with
his sister,
Jessica, he's perfectly well behaved immediately. So it's like, okay, he's just out of control. Like he doesn't have any actual behavioral problems. He's just being a little shit because his parents are out of touch rich people who think that their kid is something special. And he's a genius, a misunderstood genius.
Yeah, like that painting he did of a chimpanzee.
That's great. I absolutely
it's
love
a self-portrait.
That line. It's like, wow, very metaphorical. It's a chimpanzee, right? Self-portrait. Ah, yes.
Like, he'll be a great impressionist.
What I like about it is that it looks enough like an impressionist painting for that joke to land. Like, it doesn't actually, like, it still looks like a kid's drawing, but the proportions are just close enough to that you could see like an out of touch parent thinking that their kid's a genius rather than just a kid drawing a typical kid drawing. That's great. But during the garden party, Kevin decides to, I guess, give the good luck rock to the guy or the couple in the basement.
Well, when you say give, don't you mean like, I thought he was going there to bash their skulls in.
I don't think that's not sort of how I read it, because he seems pretty like distraught when he finds out she's dead. So I kind of took it as like, oh, this is my this is the lucky rock. I'm going to give them the lucky rock because that's what Min would do. Because he gave me the lucky rock.
Oh, that's what... Okay, I thought he was like distraught because he was going to go down there and like, kill them so that they can keep their life. But,
maybe.
he was... But like, coming to the realization, even though he was going to do it, that somebody's dead, still kind of scary.
That's entirely possible. I might have just read it wrong.
I don't know. Like, now I'm going, I think I read it wrong. Like,
you know what? Could go either way. Either way, he goes down there with the rock, and
which is like a fucking boulder, by the way.
Yeah. We kind of missed that out, but Min gives him a lucky rock.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a landscape type
rock.
Yeah.
which does sound like the typical like rich person collecting bollocks thing. Like, it's just like it's a rock on a plinth. Like
there you go. It's a landscape type. Don't worry. When you say it's a landscape type, I was like, is this Pokemon? Do you get these rocks to like battle each other? Like,
oh my god, Korean battle rocks.
Exactly. Like, that's a landscape type. Well, guess what? Mine's a portrait type. And it's like a fucking Easter Island head. Like, and it's like, yeah, let's go.
Oh my god. That's amazing. So yeah, the husband basically at this point, his wife is the housekeeper's dead. She got sort of shoved down the stairs, and
Yeah, she got taekwondo kicked. Like
yeah,
it was pretty cool.
yeah.
The mum
The
was
mum,
just
yeah,
like
just
side kicked him like the SS Dragon Cannon. And she just got bust down some stairs. And,
yeah. She didn't like die immediately or anything. She was like, it's like obviously she got like a concussion.
yeah,
It shows her throwing up, and
yeah. Like brain trauma's bad, man.
yeah. And her husband just, I mean, he's crazy already.
Yeah,
He's
like he.
been driven crazy probably by spending 4 years living in a basement in secret.
Yeah, where his wife just gives him some food. She should have gotten a better grift. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. Well, like I said, like I don't know how bad Korean prison is, but like I feel like it can't be that much worse than that. Like,
Right? Like you think the dude would be like, okay, look, I'm gonna go out tonight, or today, and like I'll live outside for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna come back, or I don't know,
yeah,
like at least in the
yeah,
summer.
right. But yeah, they
Yeah, he
yeah,
prays to Mr. Park when he comes
yeah.
back.
Which is interesting because yeah, he like prays to him. He like seems to worship him,
Yeah, like
and he does weird things like they think that there's an automatic light sensor, but it's actually just him pressing all the buttons in the basement for 4 years. Which kind of suggests he was probably a little bit gone before they even showed up. But he like after his wife's died, he just goes fucking crazy. He attacks Kevin with the rock.
yep.
Just like smacks him in the back of the head with it, then throws it at him another time.
Mm.
Then fucking stabs the sister.
Yeah, which I was like, what? I
Killed off the best fucking character in the
see,
entire movie.
but
Like,
the
come
thing for
on.
me was, I was like, well, to be honest, like she can survive that stab wound. Like it's in the shoulder ish, kind of. Like it's not like it's square in the heart. Like it's to the top left. So I was like, she'll probably pull through still anyway.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't seem like it's like necessarily a death sentence.
yeah, and then they are just like, surprise, she's dead. Like,
Yeah,
what?
and he attacks. He also, well, he sort of just starts attacking everyone really at the garden party. He's just sort of wildly swinging around until the mum, like a fucking boss,
Oh,
just
mate.
gets him with a fucking meat
She
skewer.
she comes in. Well, at first she grabs a tomahawk
Yeah,
and then just like starts going in like fucking swinging mad axes coming in. I'm like, oh shit! Like she's gonna fuck him up. Like she's like, was it? She like fucking parries the knife with one arm and then like she tries to like whack him with the tomahawk. I was like, damn man, she's going in. And the dad's just sat there watching like, what the hell? I was like,
Yeah.
come on man, like you should tag team or something. Like help her out.
But no, she just gets him with the fucking meat skewer.
Yeah.
Gets him right in the fucking side. Then Mr. Park kind of has to move him aside because
Oh yeah, he's like, quick, give me the keys because he wants to run away.
he throws them and then they fall on top of the keys.
Yeah.
So he kind of moves him aside, grabs it, and he's like, Mr. Park. Mr. Park, he's like, do I know you?
Well,
To which he like screams respect at the top of his lungs.
wait. You're missing the important thing though. It connects the two together. When he finds the guy who's under the basement, who's screaming respect at him, he's covering up his nose.
Yeah. So there's a running sort of motif in the movie from the second that they get employed. Is the first thing is that the son, the little kid, runs over and starts smelling them and goes, they all smell the same, and turns out it's
The
the smell of the
poverty.
yeah, well, it's the smell of living underground. Basically, it's that damp smell.
Yeah.
They even like, and Mr. Park complains about Mr. Kim's smell when he's being driven around
During that awkward sex scene.
during the awkward sex scene. Yeah, would like complaining about how he smells.
Like, damn, that guy smells. Now I'm twisting my nipples clockwise.
Give me drugs.
Oh yeah, why'd she say that?
I think she's trying to act out that he's the driver, like their original driver, and she's like the drugged up girl that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's it. But yeah, there's this sort of running motif, and the whole time, Mr. Kim seems to be the one who gets the most sort of. He's clearly the most sort of hurt by the stuff about the smell. He
Well,
always
that's
ends up.
because they
He's the one who ends up.
specifically speak
Well, they do
about him.
specifically mention him, but even before that, like he's kind of ever the optimist through most of the film. He's the one saying, like, oh well, what a fortunate problem, like how fortunate we are to even be having this problem, like we've got a good situation here. But he's constantly, he sniffs himself, and he's like, it's clear that he doesn't even notice it because they're like nose blind to it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like this growing resentment throughout the movie. So when Mr. Park gets close to
The basement guy.
the basement guy and holds his nose, it like sets something off in Mr. Kim's mind, and he just grabs a knife and fucking kills him.
Yeah.
Which I must admit I never saw coming. The first time I watched it, I was like, wait, okay.
So
Like he is the violent guy, because he's like the least aggressive guy in the whole movie. There's that one moment where he does this fake aggressive thing where he like grabs his wife by the throat and like is super super intense. But then like they burst out laughing, and it's almost like how ridiculous it is that he'd be violent.
yeah.
So for him to actually kill someone, it's like that.
The the thing that bugged me a little, maybe I don't know, I'm not a big brain guy, but it just felt a little forced. Like it's like, okay, I know they were going on about the smell, and it comes up a couple of times. Then like when he's driving the wife after she had the conversation with her husband,
Mm-hmm.
she starts acting like there's a funny smell. So he's getting kind of pissed off. But at the same time, I'm a bit like, I don't know if it's that. I don't know. I find myself in the thing, find it hard to go, yeah, I could see myself killing somebody over that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think it's generally, I think every time it's like the smell is the one thing that stops them from actually sort of being the same. It's the thing that stops them being on the same level. Everything else they can hide. They can dress nicer.
Mm,
They have the skills. They can talk the way they're supposed to talk. They can fake every part of it
yeah.
except for the smell. So it's like that smell is like the one lingering reminder that they are beneath the
Yeah.
Parks, that they are less than. Yeah, it's more, it's one of those things that I suppose, and I can understand why you'd say it seems forced, because it's one of those things that I think works more on a thematic level than it necessarily works on like a logical level.
Yeah. I could also, it could also be a culture blindness as well.
I
Um,
I don't know
like,
about that. I think
it,
it's more just it's one of those areas where I think the meta narrative is getting a little bit louder than the main narrative, which I guess if there is any cultural element there, it's probably more the fact that a lot of, I don't know too much about Korean stuff, but
mm,
generally speaking, East Asian stories do tend to delve more into metaphorical storytelling, where logic isn't necessarily as important as it
mm.
would be in Western, certainly mainstream Western storytelling.
Yeah, like I guess because this could be some of the things. Like there were a few things that I kind of noticed throughout the film that I was like, maybe there could have been a restructure, but obviously this is just me. Like I thought it was interesting slightly how the old housekeeper and the basement family,
Mm-hmm.
he falls basically in love with Mr. Park because he provides for them. I was kind of like, okay, so is this kind of like working class person who is like, no, 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 Like, it's good that, Jeff Bezos is a billionaire.
I think so. Yeah, I always took it as that. See, it's a weird one because I kind of, to be honest, went into this assuming you'd seen Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer is a lot more confrontational when it comes to class, so it kind of sells where he's coming from even more, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So yeah, I feel like he would do that because there's actually a character like that in Snowpiercer who is one of the villains, who, uh, because it's basically Snowpiercer is it's a train that is divided by class. It's after the end of the world, train going around the world.
Oh, I've seen like a few minutes of that.
Ah,
Like, I saw it on TV briefly, but didn't get to watch it all.
right, yeah, and yeah, but the whole thing is a microcosm of the class culture, and there is absolutely a character in that who, she, it's Tilda Swinton,
Right.
plays her. Tilda Swinton is just fucking great in everything. I swear, she's like it's one of those weird things where it's like she can play a role. It's like, wait, that was her? What the fuck? How?
Right.
She just really disappears into roles, and it's like, oh, okay. She kind of has that she does this whole speech of like, this is a shoe. Does a shoe belong on your head? No, it belongs on your foot. Everything has its place. So like, yeah, I think
yeah.
that's him kind of playing with that same kind of mentality of like, people who believe those above them are there by divine right rather than
Yeah.
just by circumstance. In a very, I mean, he's literally above him.
Yeah.
So which you can take in the class direction. You can also take it in the religious direction.
Yeah, which he seems to have taken it.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, it's like, yeah, again, like, by divine right, he provides for me. And by the same token, like, when he doesn't know who he is, when Mr. Park doesn't know who he is and he shouts respect, it's like this whole time he's been deluding himself that he's actually been providing for him. Like you would with a religious figure.
Yeah.
Which again, in a sense, feels a little bit more like it's the meta narrative kind of steaming ahead of the main narrative. But by the same token, I think that works a little bit better because he is also fucking crazy. So
yeah,
so it kind of works on a surface level a bit more with that one.
Like, I would have just liked some kind of elements to show that, not in a malicious way, but just by a simple act of doing business. The causal effects were Mr. Park fucked over both of their families, except somehow, or for some reason, the basement family are like, yeah, they're great people, we love them.
Like if he, for instance, traded in low-income housing or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like if he was like an estate agent.
somehow managed to totally gentrify their area without not realizing that he brought out all their stuff and basically fucked them over, forcing them into that situation.
I can see why they
would have liked that.
I can see why they wouldn't add something like that just purely because it would muddy the narrative. You know what I mean? For cohesion, I think introducing something like that would be difficult. Not saying it couldn't be done.
No, like maybe a couple of lines, like if he was saying, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to use random things like, oh yeah, we're totally able to make a good selling on, I don't know, like what's it called, that Crystal Park housing estate," and then like at a later point they're like, "Oh yeah, things got really bad when we lost our housing at Crystal Park housing estate." Like, if they just said those two things at totally separate, distant parts of the movie, it would just be a thing of like, hey, wait, they've mentioned that once before. Like,
here's the thing though, I feel like that would be hard to believe because I've actually served estate agents in the pub and I've heard the conversations they have, and the thing is they are actually really fucking malicious.
yeah,
like I genuine quote, this is genuinely something I heard once while I was collecting glasses, and there was this table of estate agents on like this sort of staff do, and goes, yeah, and I absolutely raped him over this property.
Oh.
Like that's the sort of
yeah.
worst human beings on the planet. Honestly, it was like God, honestly, it's a good thing I'm not behind the bar because I would have spat in your fucking drinks, you fucks. You smug wankers.
Yeah, like I've heard a few things like that before. You're
estate
like,
agents
Jesus
and
Christ.
sales reps.
Yeah,
So like
the guys I know, they're sales. It's like, yeah, man, we've raped them on the. What was it? We're raping the sales or something like that. Like this person said, and I'm
the
like,
amount
Jesus,
of casual use of the word rape in certain industries is
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
bizarre. It's
Yeah.
especially considering the way that they're using it is contextually right. Um, It's like a French mate where he's like, "You want to bring your gym stuff over here?" Yeah, rape. Oh, that show was great.
I was hoping a lot that when they found out and they were both like, we can both screw each other over or something like that, I was hoping they were going to be like, okay, how about we keep working here and then we'll just give you food anyway.
Oh yeah, the fact that like their inability to compromise works thematically, kind of works with where their mental state is at that point, because I think they're not gonna be thinking, it's one of those things. It's not like they've got an outside view. They're just like but at the same time, it's actually kind of frustrating that the whole like threatening to because you have the basement couple who are threatening to send video footage of the Kim family sort of admitting that they're family to the parks, and it's like, yeah, and you even said like you thought that the father, because the father steps in and goes, "Are you crazy?" And it seems like what he's gonna say is, "If you send that, then they'll know you're here."
Yeah, right, and you're gonna get kicked out. So, but then he's like, "No, they're nice people. Don't do that." And it's like, what? Like he's clearly lying because he's just saying that to appeal to them because he's like, you guys like him, right? So you don't want to scare them. But what? No, tell him how stupid it would be.
But yeah, they never get that. Like, yeah, if that got out, it would be bad for both of them. The best possible solution is for them to just go, okay, you know what? We'll just let each other get on with this shit.
Do you think that might partly be the part of the message of the movie?
Oh, absolutely.
In the fact that it's like, see, it could have all worked, but they were corrupted by capitalism.
Yeah. I'd say that's like, it's that where we're fighting each other. We're not focusing on our shared problem. You know what I mean? It's I mean, depending on where you live, it's different. I don't necessarily know in Korea how it's divided, but it can be either immigrants versus people who were born here. It can be gay people versus straight people. It can be whatever
like
group herd mentality you have that kind of divides working class communities that could ultimately work together more.
The I think what's it called? The ultimate one for me is like, I don't understand. Why do people hate immigrants? It's like, yeah, but immigrants come here and work for really cheap. That's not their fault. Like, it's not their fault that they're getting exploited harder than you. Like, you should be mad at the guy who's exploiting them and therefore exploiting you. Like, come on, it's really simple.
But not to out myself as a dirty commie or anything, but there's this band called the Molotovs, and there's this. They've got a song called "Class Enemy," and there's a great line in there which is "Blame the slave for the plantation on his green." Really fucking good line, and that's basically the entire attitude when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I think, like I say, thematically it makes perfect sense for him to do it, and also narratively it makes sense. It's just really frustrating.
Yeah, I know. Like I think that might be me going like, but if I was there, I would have done this. It's like, man, I hate every horror movie. Why would you go inside the haunted house?
Yeah. That's the
that is literally what I'm doing. Yeah.
Don't go upstairs. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, well, you just saw something creepy. Just leave. Just go away.
Yeah. I think that's I mean that's what everyone does, right? It's the come on, this isn't real though.
Yeah, no, it's like, do you want there to be a movie or not?
Yeah.
Like, does it make sense for the characters to do this within their own mental states?
That's all that. Yeah, because otherwise you enter that kind of territory of certain reviewers who shall remain nameless, Linkara,
Mm.
that think that stories are bad because the characters are making morally poor decisions. It's like,
Okay.
well, no, because it makes sense for the character to do that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
If as long as it makes sense narratively, I have no issue with it.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I guess we're on closing thoughts. Unless you had any other smaller points you wanted to make.
Oh, at the end of the movie, the movie goes to Kevin waking up in hospital,
Mm.
and the police are there. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna start reading you your rights." Like first time awake in however long, and he starts laughing,
Mm.
which hilariously makes this movie a lot closer to Joker. So that guy who was bitching can shut the fuck up.
The Quartering did not watch Parasite.
It wasn't the Quartering. It was some other rando.
I thought it was the Quartering. I mean, maybe the Quartering did as well. In fact, I imagine the Quartering would have
No,
done as well.
yeah, maybe he would be complaining. Anyway, he starts laughing, and I was like, "Oh shit! Oh shit!
You wouldn't
This
get
is
it.
this is like the highest level grift this guy's got yet." Like because throughout the entire movie, they're really really resourceful. Like the entire time, they think on their feet, they come up with new plans.
Mm-hmm.
So my thoughts were, this guy just woke up like surgery, having his head bashed in. The police are reading him his rights, and he's like, "Insanity plea, baby." Like he can start laughing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, sometimes this happens after like surgery. They can't stop laughing." I was like, "Oh shit, it's working. He's going for it." But then actually, no, he didn't get like an actual brain injury.
But yeah, he's actually, you talking about that did actually remind me of the end scene, the end scene that I actually really did like. Because it kind of, at first it's like, I'm going to get the money together, and it kind of looks like that's actually happening in the narrative. Like, oh, I'm going to get my money together, and we're going to buy the house, and we're going to move in, and then all you need to do is walk up the stairs, because the dad is, after committing the murder, he just hides out in the basement that the couple were in.
Right.
Which sort of makes sense, really. And again, works really well thematically. He starts communicating to his son through Morse code, which is something that the guy in the basement was doing before that.
Yep.
So he's like, I'm going to get my money together, and we'll buy the house. And then when we bought the house, all we need to do is walk up the stairs, and we'll be there. And it kind of shows it. And he goes up and they hug. And then it cuts to Kevin sitting just writing the note in their shitty basement.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm glad that they did it that way, because, yeah, the thing is, that's no more realistic than at the start of the movie. That he's no better off.
Yeah.
In fact, he's probably worse off now because he's got a criminal record.
Well, it's got a criminal record, dead sister, so that's one less extra helping hand, and missing
no
father.
Dad, yeah, so now it's just him and his mum.
Yeah, it's literally like 50% of the earning power that they had before.
Yeah, so like, chances are that's just not going to happen. And like his dad said earlier in the movie, the best type of plan is no plan, because plans don't work. Which, man, if I haven't actually fucking said that before, Jesus Christ.
Those like doomer moments when you're like, nihilism is the only way.
Oh, tell me about it. I've had that many fucking times where I've just been like, yeah, nah, I fuck making plans. I don't do that shit. So, closing thoughts. Good fucking movie. I enjoy that it doesn't really pull punches. It was first time watching it was a lot funnier than I expected it to be. Genuinely very funny film. But also the emotional moments kind of hit the way they're supposed to. And it even manages to be kind of scary. It goes kind of horror-ish at points, and it works.
Yeah.
To pull off that many different styles in one movie, I think is, while maintaining a pretty consistent tone. It's...
I've from my limited exposure to Asian cinema, I do find that they're a lot better at blending, like if they're going, hey, we're going to do like a drama story, they'll be able to find elements to like put like comedy
Mm.
or maybe like something that's a bit like, oh, this is kind of horrifying.
I've
Like,
certainly found that with Japanese films, which I'm
mm.
much more familiar with, and Hong Kong movies for that matter. So yeah,
Yeah, like
actually, you're right.
I find they're a lot better at weaving the different genres. It's something I find even in like anime, like
Mm.
although I'm getting old, so most anime I'm now like I ain't watching that. But like I do find that a lot of the time it's like, oh, this is quite a serious show, but there's a lot of levity in here. It's like, oh, because it makes it more like real life.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah, real life is not
just
one
do
consistent feeling.
yeah, Zack Snyder.
Mm.
You know, you mix a little bit of levity in there, so when something bad happens, you feel really shit.
No, what you need to do is you need to take the levity that was even in the source material and take it out, so that the few funny moments in Watchmen aren't in there. So it's just depressing, but it's okay because you've got in cool slow motiony fight scenes in a movie that's supposed to be a reflection against superhero violence, not just more of it. Fucking I had so many people for so long telling me that movie wasn't that bad, and I was like the one fucking voice in the room going, "No, it is that bad. It's fucking terrible." But because apparently I'm always ahead of the curve on this shit, it was like fucking what, like 8 years before anyone else was like, "Oh yeah, actually no, you know what, you were right. That movie fucking sucks." But yeah, I fucking know. Thanks.
I don't know, man. Watchmen seem kind of alright. Like,
Uh,
yeah, like I just don't like the combat stuff. But
I hate. Oh fuck Zack Snyder. That 300 was good. Beyond that, fuck Zack Snyder.
yeah, I won't lie. He's not done anything else that's good, and I'm not even a Superman stan, and I'm like, hey man, can you not do Superman this shit, please? Because
If Sucker
he
Punch
actually
was
should have
if,
some.
if Sucker Punch was
Fuck
three
Sucker Punch, man.
if that was just separate short films, or like if they took away all of the connective tissue and just had them be separate vignettes, it would have been decent. But then they had that stupid oh, she's in a mental asylum, but then she's also in a
Ballerina.
like yeah, she's like in a dance thing, and then she has the vision within the vision, and that's stupid. Just have some vignettes of cool fight scenes. That's clearly what the movie was. Just make that.
Yeah,
Don't have a story. If you're gonna do it like that, just make it like Heavy Metal. Just don't. Well, even Heavy Metal had a framing device, but it was a very very loose one that doesn't matter. Don't even have a framing device. Just go. Here's some cool fight scenes I wrote that I couldn't really place anywhere else. And here it is. People would like that. It probably would have gotten better reviews. It probably would have been better received.
He should have
do that.
He should have just said, "Hey, look, I'm just going to buy the rights to doing a Dragon Ball like thing," because if he just did a Dragon Ball Z story and like Goku's punching somebody and he's not got any humor or anything, it's not that weird for Dragon Ball Z because Dragon Ball Z was not completely, but they removed a lot of the humor, so. Yeah. He could get away with that, and then everyone will be happy. He'll be selling all kinds of gangbusters, and serious Dragon Ball with punchy things.
Yes, I'm trying to find a way to link this back to Parasite. I'm struggling.
Well, he was in a secret bunker underground.
Ian Bale.